Can I just say, I didn't think we'd be able to top the mommy issues that we had between Haruto and his biological mom. I mean, putting a slave collar on your bio mom is something that's pretty up there in terms of, damn, that'd be some mommy issues. But apparently, the whole family just is not good with this queen. And I mean, it's one thing to whisper in a very creepy way into the prince's ear. It's another when you just grab the poor princess by the throat because she just so happened to look at the slave collar that Haruto forced on her. The fact that she can walk around and just literally be popping out of even, I don't even know if you can call that a dress, but the fact that you could stare at that all you want, but you look at that slave collar, damn, she snaps. And honestly, man, I'm 100% convinced that she is indeed doing some shady things behind the scenes, because we learned a lot in episode 8. Episode 7's a bit more of a comfy kind of fun episode. There wasn't really a lot to talk about last week, which is why I didn't make a video, so we're just gonna kind of double up here, but I think the primary thing we gotta discuss is episode 8, because it definitely gets the plot going in some pretty interesting ways. But I do have full live reactions to both episodes 7 and 8 available on my Patreon, so if you would like to see that, it is over there if you're interested. Now, just to get it out of the way, I think we will just briefly touch upon episode 7. So, there was some good stuff with Liza. Liza kind of gets like properly introduced into the cast. She pretty much just shows up Flay at every single moment. She washes the dishes perfectly. Our girl snaps them. She makes delicious food. She gives us poison, right? Like, it's a night and day difference. But it was really cute because ultimately we end up realizing that, yeah, I mean, Haruto himself realizes this is his attendant, this is the person to take with him because she's well behaved, but also she can easily blend in. What was weird was at the end of last week's episode, which the credits start playing around the midway point, what they ended up doing was like 4 or 5 little short moments, which were all fun to watch, mind you, but it was weird that they decided to just rapid fire them. I'm just going to assume that because we were transitioning into the capital, that they just wanted to get through some stuff that maybe they wouldn't be able to in the future. I don't know. But it was a fine, fun episode last week, but episode 8 is definitely the meat and potatoes. This is the main course here. I think episode 7 was just a nice little appetizer you're not going to think too hard about, because seriously, jumping into episode 8, we get a new character who is one of the ones who is in the opening that at one point the opening kind of transitions in a bit of an ominous way, and all throughout this episode we have multiple characters point out that there's something off. And I mean, I'm not sure. They might go comedic with it because the two characters who did make a mention are flat-chested. I mean, it's possible we could go with a boob joke, but I think it is something to do with the mana, something with like the ability or something, because I mean, we can see she's ridiculously strong. The bison came charging at her, and she did a rather good job before our boy just kind of Looney Tunes anviled onto its head. But luckily, we set the bison free, and I was a little salty, to be honest, because I was hoping it would be our pet, and maybe the hope's not gone just yet. Maybe someday we'll run into this bison again, but it was a pretty adorable creature when it wasn't trying to run everyone over. But it was interesting, right? Because we are essentially now getting into a new setting, a new predicament. And while, yes, we can teleport very casually, I mean, he literally leaves off, I think it's supposed to be like a week trip or something. And what does he do? He just chills at his vacation home, and when it's getting closer to the time he should arrive, he takes the teleporter, and obviously we see how that works. But it's going to be interesting because for him, this is supposed to be a short trip, right? This is supposed to be like, okay, I'm going to go in, try to get myself expelled, and not really have to deal with too much bullshit, right? And if I do, then I'll just send my clone to deal with it. But as we're seeing, like, there's going to be a lot more here, and I think it's probably going to be a mixture of the mom storyline, the queen, because we learned that basically even the public is under the assumption that the queen and the king are kind of distant right now. And in doing so, this cult, which they're literally calling a cult, is most likely taking advantage to it, and we can also assume that the queen is probably also responsible with potentially manipulating the strings. There's some really interesting kind of like deeper narrative plot points going on here, but in the face of an episode like this, or even last week, you just have a lot of goofy, like, here's Haruto, he wants to have this lazy lifestyle, and look at all the beauties around him, or adorable moe blobs around him, and then what do we end up doing? We see that, okay, even if at face value peace has been here, like you slap a slave collar on her, you say you try to take it off, your head will come off, you try to tell anyone, your head will come off. Seemingly that threatening, the gun to the head worked for, what, 5 years they did a time skip of or something like that? But at the same time, we can realize that there's other ways that she could buy her time, you know, just be sneaky in the shadows and really just fester into an even more despicable version of where she once was. So Unfortunately, it does seem like that slave collar probably is doing more harm than good than even Haruto realizes, but obviously we can tell that we're gonna be focusing on it more as the story gets going. I mean, something I've been saying for a while when I've been covering this show is that I didn't expect to enjoy it quite as much as I currently am, because what we're seeing here is a show that at times wears its heart on its sleeve. It has these very simple family moments or just goofy comedy moments, but at other points it has this very interesting kind of like political sabotage style storyline. And honestly, I feel like when they introduce new characters, I do find myself saying, I want to see where they take this. It's not just like simply, oh, here's the next harem member. Well, potentially you could view it as that at any given moment. At the same time, I more or less view this as that's actually an interesting character. I mean, Liz's introduction was fantastic. I mean, a bookworm dragon who basically, fearful of humans, getting this kind of like second chance with a very kind family, all things considered, even if dad just doesn't really know how to respond when you casually bring a dragon home, but at this point he probably should just assume that's what his son's gonna do. But it's really cool to see what they've been able to accomplish, and like I said, like last week, there was a lot of kind of like simplistic, goofy moments, but you'd be hard-pressed not to find a fan who could, at the very least, still enjoy watching it. If every episode started doing that, I probably wouldn't enjoy it, but in terms of like realizing that we are about to leave for a brand new story arc, I think it does kind of work in that way to just kind of like show you a bunch of cute moments, because obviously there's going to be many days and weeks that we won't see on screen, but clearly they have these ridiculous moments. Like probably my favorite from episode 7 is where Char is like talking to Flay, being like, hey, can you fly? And she's like, absolutely. And she's just jumping really high, and she comes back dirty as can be because she probably crashed in the woods, and she's just like, yes, that is amazing. And it's like, those are fun, man. Those are just simple, fun moments. But the thing that is keeping me here more and more is honestly the interesting King and Queen storyline, because you could easily have written it as King and Queen toss his ass into the woods and we never really touch upon it again because he wants to be this lazy shut-in. But very clearly, like, anything other than that's going to happen, especially when you look at the prince and princess, who are pretty much viewing him as going to be the one who's probably going to change and probably expose a lot of BS, because even if his readings are saying level 2 with mana, everyone who sees what he can do realizes that he's an absolute force to be reckoned with. But either way, I like where the show's at right now. I'm interested to see where the last third's going to go. I think with the introduction of this new character, someone who has this mysterious aura about her, and how immediately was able to tell that, like, hey, have we met before? Which was weird because, he saw her in his like Zero outfit, his Black Knight outfit, and, he didn't even speak before she said that. But the idea of being able to tell his mana that was similar to what healed her is a pretty interesting kind of hook to get you to say, wait a second, where is this character going? But I need to see more. But let me know what you thought, either of this news episode or last week's episode. Favorite moment, let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction to today's episode available on my Patreon. And hey, while you're there, you'll also get a video shoutout. So today we have Ulcerin, Alexander Hernandez, Alice Sosiev, Alton Johnson, Anthony Tong, and Anthox. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.